Hello world, it's Berto Prey 5, Qapla. So that 90's show is a thing, apparently. I'd heard about it a few months ago, maybe a year, forgot about it. Heard the trailer came out about a month ago, forgot to watch it. But then I heard it was out. Netflix told me, hey, look, that 90's show. So I watched an episode yesterday, then I watched another and another, and then I watched 7 more to finish out the first season, 10 roughly 30-minute episodes, and I figured I should talk about it. I know it's not really sci-fi. The closest to sci-fi is that Eric Foreman, previous star of that 70s show. He was a sci-fi nerd, and while if you've seen the trailer, then it's no spoiler that he does return, at least for a cameo. His daughter is the new star of the new show. I wouldn't say she's a nerd, certainly not of the same vein that he was, but being he was a nerd and he got to name his daughter, her name is Leia. I thought that was pretty funny. The first joke of the show, and it's the name of the star. But without much to go on, I was fairly open-minded. Wasn't 100% sure what direction the show was going to go. And I'm fairly glad I watched. However, and I'm going to do my best to not put any spoilers in the review. This is a true spoiler-free review. Now, if you've seen the trailer, the only thing you're going to see in this video is video from the trailer and perhaps video from, or a still from the original That 70's Show. I'm not going to put any new content from the show, A, because it's very hard for me to get, and B, because some of the best parts of this show is not knowing what's about to happen. I don't want to take that away from you, even if some of it was taken away from me. Some of my biggest questions that I had, and I will raise them here because I think they deserve answers, is, well, if you weren't sure or didn't know, some members of the original cast of this show have run into troubles, or worse, they've died. Lori Foreman, who was Eric's slutty sister, daughter, eldest child of Red and Kitty Foreman, and Red and Kitty are stars in this new series. That they may be the stars of this new series, every much up there with Leia Foreman, and that's a great part because Red and Kitty are my favorite part of the show. But so Red and Kitty, they're easily half the show. But the entire series, I don't think they once mention Lori. Lori is Eric's sister, their oldest child, and sure, she could have left and moved off and had a family of her own, but how does she not come up at all for this entire summer? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, in real life, the actress who played the sister, Lisa Robin Kelly, unfortunately died we can assume drugs were related. She had a lot of cocaine problems. It's why she got fired from the show. And she got replaced, though, with a second actress to play the same character, Christina Moore. Now, Christina Moore, who played Lori Foreman in the later seasons of That 70's Show, is very much alive and is still in the business and doesn't seem to be particularly busy. And, looking at her IMDb, she clearly probably would have been open to coming back. So why don't we see her? I really don't have an explanation. There are a lot of cameos, but she's not one. I do feel a bit lost as to why we get nothing from Lori Foreman in this. Less surprisingly, there is no mention of Stephen Hyde. Hyde, one of the more popular characters from the original 70's show, played by Danny Masterson. Well, if you do not know, Danny Masterson was accused of some pretty serious crimes against multiple women, the worst types of crimes against women, the types you can't even say on YouTube. And Throw in the fact that the Church of Scientology is also involved, and you can imagine what a toxic situation that is. So while I kind of understand why Hyde makes no appearance, I was a bit disappointed that even in the flashback scenes to the 70s, he has been edited out so that nobody even asks questions, I guess. Out of sight, out of mind. And that's pretty sad because for those of you who don't remember, and I had to rewatch it for myself, the final episode of that 70s show, remember, Hyde has been living with the Foremans for, I don't know, a couple of seasons, I believe, at that point. He very much was looking up to Red, almost like a father, and Red seemed to almost accept him, almost like a son. Red's last present to him was a very substantial check. All the rent he had been paying Red saved it up in a savings account and gave it to Hyde on that final episode. Hyde then used it to buy Green Bay Packers tickets for Red so that Kitty could convince him to not move to Florida. And, there was some real bonding going on. And, well, it's just unfortunate that that storyline had to die. Another sad, unfortunate passing in real life was Tanya Roberts, who played Midge Pinciotti, Donna's mother. She died just a couple of years ago in 2021 after a very severe illness. They were hiking and she got sepsis. She had severe pain, ended up in the hospital during the height of COVID. Even her loved ones couldn't visit her. It was a terribly sad story. And she passed. She still lived a significant life, but so she is not around either. And no mention is given to her or what happened to her, which is kind of sad. So with those out of the way, pretty much everyone else you can remember has some cameo in one way, shape, or form. The trailer gives away most of them. There's one or two the trailer doesn't. And unfortunately, I would say the one that they saved for the end that wasn't in the trailer, and I did not anticipate until they sprung it on us, was really perhaps the least. He was a minor character in only a few episodes. The music and the cue when he is revealed, you just kind of believe, like, I don't know. I was expecting somebody big, and it was like, I forgot this person even existed. I had to double check. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that guy now. So just brace yourself. I think they build up a little too much. As for the show itself, let me be blunt. If I thought it was shit, I wouldn't even be wasting my time. That said, the writing, it's not great. It suffers from the fact that it's 2023 and Netflix probably paid a bunch of money to some people without a bunch of experience and just needed content. The main character, Leia, is a young woman. Now they actually cast actual teenagers. Okay, they're not adults playing teenagers. They are actual teenagers. And to that point, that's something else that just doesn't make a lot of sense. During this season, which takes place between July 4th, 1995, and the end of summer 1995, which will, let's just say, was maybe September 1st. Okay, so this only takes place in, frankly, what I consider already the late summer. She has her 15th birthday, so she turns 15 in July or August, and let's say August 1995, which means she was born, let's say, August 1980, which means she was conceived November-ish, 1979, which puts Eric Foreman and Donna, who is her mom, several thousand miles apart. because Eric was in Africa. Eric got back to Point Place with just a couple of hours to spare before the new year in 1979, December 1979, and him and Donna were broken up. Yes, it was a very touching reunion, and they kissed, and I could totally believe that they got back together. And maybe she was even conceived that night. I could believe it, but that really puts her as a premature baby, and maybe she was. It's very possible she was born a few weeks premature and all that. But then that still puts Donna as having a baby her first year in college. And yeah, it happens. And I'm sure many women do that and they move on with their lives and they can finish their schooling. And I'm sure Eric would have been very happy to help with the baby and all that stuff. But my God, we had 8 seasons of that 70s show, and I never would have pegged Donna as a woman who would have started college pregnant. The math doesn't add up. That said, what are you going to do? You have to have a show. I mean, they could have started it in 96 or 97. I really don't know why they had to start it in 95, but I mean, let's face it, this show is not going to go 7 years. It's a Netflix show. If they get a second or third season, I'd be surprised. But whatever. They did it. We can move on. The bigger concern is that over the first 3 episodes, Leia gets told not once, not twice, not 3 or 4 or 5 times, but I think 8 or more times by virtually every character in the show that she is such a strong and independent and so smart. She's such a strong, smart, independent, brilliant young woman that she can do anything. And just how great she is. People are coming out of the woodwork to tell her how great she is. And I know the 90s, that was it. Everybody was up on, what was that? Your self-esteem. You got to keep the kid's self-esteem high. And it boggles the mind how many people they could find to just tell her how great she was over the course of 24 hours in episode time. It's like I was sick. I was getting physically ill as new people came on to say how great she was. And these people don't know her, okay? It's one thing for her parents to say she's great and her grandparents to say you're great, but they're finding kids that she didn't know. She knew them for 30 minutes, not even. And they're already telling her how great she is and how she can do anything and how smart she is. You don't know this kid. She was literally spying on you, and you're telling her how great she is. You don't know anything about her. But that's the writing we get, and it was making me sick, but I stuck with it. For whatever reason, I stuck with it. And I gotta say, by the mid-season, and we're talking 30-minute episodes, a little bit less, so by episodes 4, 5, and 6, that has stopped. If you get through those first 3 episodes, I would say the mid-season, there were some jokes. Oh my God, they really hit hard. I was truly laughing out loud for some of it. Enough that I said, you know what? I want to talk about this. I want to tell people it's not all bad. Some of it is. Some of it is, especially in the beginning. You're going to say, it's woke. It is, and it is. It's woke, but it's not overly woke. It's just they could have done better. They could have done better. I was surprised that I got to give them points for the diversity. I never would have thought I'd ever hear myself say that. But they actually did the diversity kind of right. I mean, they put in more diversity than would have otherwise naturally occurred, I'm sure. But they did it well, and they did it kind of 90s style. Like, nobody gave a shit so much in the 90s what your color was, what your race was, what country you were from. I mean, in my friend, and granted, I grew up in New York City and not Point Place, Wisconsin. But I mean, we were kind of over it at that point, and the writing on this show, they seem to be over it too. Yeah, they talk about how great women are and, feminism, yay, and how great in particular Leia is. But the different ethnicities on the show, there's no, oh, I'm a proud, African American woman, or I'm a strong Asian, gender neutral, whatever. They didn't talk about that. Yes, there's a gay character. He feels that he needs to come out. And that's fine, because in the 90s, you remember in the mid 90s, even the Democrats, even President Clinton wasn't for gay marriage. Okay. Remember, even President Obama ran against gay marriage for his first term. It took to his second term to even, so there's been a lot. Okay. So in the 1990s, yeah, the fact the kid wanted to come out as gay, I get it. That's fine. That makes sense. That's how the times were. But I was happy that we didn't get that with everybody of every color and every gender option. The fact that it was only about women, it was like, but I could. Unfortunately, again, with the writing, every male besides Red Foreman is dumber than a box of rocks. And you say, wait, the Kelsos were always idiots. And yeah, the Kelsos were idiots. But when I watched even just that final episode of that 70s show, they were idiots, but they could, Mike Kelso could still do things. Okay? Him and Hyde and him and Fez, they weren't all idiots. In this series, every male except Red, dumber than a boxer. But that's true of almost every series these days. Few of the female characters, and forgive me, and one of their names is Nikki, and I forget the other, but, Gwen and Nikki. I forget which is which. One is half black, and the other is Asian-ish, I guess. I don't remember which is which, because to be honest, to me, they pretty much play the exact same character. I mean, at one point, they even look alike. For how that works out, I don't get it. Why they have two characters that are basically identical, I don't know. But to me, they're like, somebody's like, we need another woman, so they just decided to clone one of them, and like, oh, now we've got two. Okay, as long as it's not Leia, you can't clone Leia. She has to be unique. For the acting, they do pretty decent acting for teenagers. Nothing, I don't think it's anything to write home about, but also nothing to complain about. I hope they grow into their roles. Although, to be honest, again, with only 10 episodes a season, I don't know how much practice you get. I mean, I guess it's really not my business. If they come out with a good show, I'll keep watching. Anyway, it's worth a watch. It's funny if you got the time. You got 4.5 hours perhaps of content. If you're a 70s show fan, I'd watch it if you can. If you feel your brain starting to pulsate or something after those first couple episodes and you want to tune out, that's fine too. I mean, this is really for me to see what Red and Kitty have been up to and to see their lives continue. They're my favorite characters in the show, and I don't think that's going to change. I'm probably just too old to care about the kids at this point. I tried to think back to when I was 15. All I could think about was which Star Trek was on. And no, there's no Star Trek references. I'll show you that. Although in a video store, you do clearly see some Star Trek movies on the shelf. So somebody's a fan somewhere. That was nice, especially when you more closely associate that 70s show with Star Wars. At least I do. But it was nice to see Star Trek, even if it was only in VHS form in the background. There was a lack, and gotta give a point to LDG for this one, of LDG freethenet.org. He pointed out, yeah, there was a noticeable lack of video game. There were a couple mentions of Nintendo, but for 1995, they didn't have a video game. So that was kind of weird. You'd think there'd be an old NES in the house or something, Atari, ColecoVision, whatever. But overall, I'm gonna give this a solid 7. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. If you take the whole season, it's a 7 out of 10. If you take those first 3 episodes, it's more like a 2 out of 10. I'd say the mid-season is its peak, and then it kind of quiets off towards the end. So get through episode 7 and you'll have no problem getting through all 10. But if you stop in the first 3, you're probably not going to watch it. That's about it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you, let me know what you think in the comments. Kind of curious. Maybe I'm crazy, but well, hope you enjoyed this. Hope it helps you find something to watch on a rainy day. Qapla All, bird out.